Peace, Kukla. Think fast. You ever played like a game like Grand Theft Auto? If any of y'all familiar with games, but for those of you that are, like a game like Grand Theft Auto where you could just roam free, and kind of do whatever you want. Of course, you got missions, set in place for you to do, but you have that free will to just walk around the game. Like every time you play the game, you could just turn on and not do, the missions. And as above, so below, our existence in that manner is just like that. And you notice like when you got these missions set in place, and then you like, oh man, to hell with the missions. Matter of fact, 'cause some of us are more right brain, you know what I'm saying? So we don't want to deal with logic and responsibility and constructs and structure. We just want to hop on the game and play. We more right brain, matter of fact, that feminine chaos, you know what I'm saying? But then it gets to a point where you playing the game, you know what I'm saying? Like in that feminine minded mode, you know what I'm saying? Of just no logic, like I'm just going around, whether you're just shooting people or just driving cars, whatever. And then you get to a point where you get bored, like your experience reaches a ceiling, like it starts off like, oh yeah, this new, oh man, I can do this, and then all of a sudden it kind of like just gets like a plateau that cannot, like, there's nothing else you could really do with just that, again, that feminine aspect of being free. So in the game, it's like, all right, well, bam, let me try doing some of these missions now, you know what I'm saying? So you start to do, the missions. Getting that mode, it getting exciting. As a matter of fact, missions, the logic, the masculine aspect of the game, like, oh yeah, then that starts to, you learning. But then you get to a place, where you finish all your missions, So it gets to a point of like, all right, well, damn, now I'm just, done with this game. So what you do, you get you a new game. And then, and whatever game you get, you're always in essence, the control of the game. As a matter of fact, as a person, you get to pick the game, you know what I'm saying? Now, once you pick the game, it is what it is. Like, say, for instance, once I start playing San Andreas, then, I'm CJ, quote unquote, what I'm saying, the character from the game, and that's what the game is. I can't be Crash Bandicoot or Mario in San Andreas, in that game. You know what I'm saying? And I'm, using these analogies to, draw the parallel to life. Like, it's like a game, a lot of us, like, why this gotta happen? Why we gotta have evil, like, quote unquote, evil and bad, you know what I'm saying? Well, just think of everything, again, if everybody was the same, talk the same, walk the same, act the same, just, everything was just one experience. Because say, for instance, like the things that we call bad, if all that was on our experience was just the bad things, it wouldn't have nothing different to know whether it was a quote unquote good experience or bad experience, because that's all you have is that quote unquote bad experience, you know what I'm saying? So as long as you coasting through, one mind frame and just one way of doing things, it's never gonna be a growth in essence. It's always gonna be like just, this boredness, you know what I'm saying? So to people who wonder, and like with us, like, well, why would I choose to come down here and forget shit, you know what I'm saying? Again, it's a game. You want to make the game interesting. Imagine if I came down here like, I'm God, I know I'm God, and I come down here, to play with the conscience of being God fully. After so long, you know what I'm saying, with me knowing this, is like, it's gonna, it's gonna get boring. Like, I know everything, I know what is there to learn. I know everything, So what am I even doing here on this human experience if I know everything? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is there to do? Like, you just come a point of like, well, what is the point to even, there's nothing for me to do. I know everything. I remember all my past life. I remember every part of my existence. You know, it's no fun in that game. You know what I'm saying? Like, so again, it's like, by taking our memory, and then to the slightest bit, you know what I'm saying, and just forgetting a little bit allows for us to play this game with a certain type of seriousness. You know what I'm saying? Because again, like, well, why would I want to play this game? Or again, if it wasn't for us having these different experiences, all the different multitudes of contrast, you wouldn't be able, like, when your baby is born, say if a child is born, you have a child, that joy you experience, you wouldn't have been able to experience that joy if you wouldn't have had the situation of going without a child. Like, you never had a child up until that moment you have one, you know what I'm saying? But what made that moment so beautiful when when you have your first child, for those that been in that place, what makes it so beautiful is because you're coming from the other half of the experience. You know what I'm saying? Because say for instance, we was all like, oh, it's just normal, everybody having babies, and you always having babies from the day. I know that sounds non-logical, but just think about where you having babies from day one, where it's just in the essence. Don't think about it so much in that thing, but just think of it in the sense of, like, if having babies was such a a normal all the time type of thing, then the experience would be dull. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, another baby being born, oh, another baby, to the point where it almost would feel like, fuck it, throw it in the trash, like, fuck it, like another baby being born. The experience would be dull and stupid and boring, because, like, it's the same thing happening all the time, every day, you know what I'm saying? So again, it reaches a certain plateau, well, in essence, it reached a plateau of where we don't have any more different experiences. It reached a plateau in our evolution, where it's nothing else to learn if everything is the same, But the fact that we done came down here is as God on the human experience, and forgetting certain aspects of ourselves, it allows for us to play this game. You know what I'm saying? To remember and get back to our essence, and to get back in our essence, as I was about to say. Like, that's the whole the whole vibe. Like, I wouldn't know how healthy or how good vegetables was if eating meat didn't harm me the way it did. Like, it takes, flowers wouldn't smell so good if shit didn't stink. Imagine if everything had one smell. And that fact, and because it would be a monotone experience, it wouldn't be like, how you got, like, something smells good or bad. No, everything just smells in our experience. There's no good or bad, everything just smells. Hey. And then it wouldn't even be a speculation, like, why. So when you look at it like that, like, everything is just smells, so our experience would be like, what the fuck, why worry about smelling? It's just, it's the same monotone experience throughout the whole situation. So, nothing's gonna bring excitement to, again, and you start to see that it's just a balance of, the light and dark, the quote unquote good and bad, masculine and feminine, like, these energies exist for us to have an experience, to expand and grow, and most importantly, just to have an experience. Because at the end of the day, I always say the bottom line of what our existence is at the end of the day is God experiencing itself, because it's boring sitting down by yourself as a fucking consciousness, like, by yourself forever and ever and ever and ever, like, you just one whole consciousness by yourself forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. It's like that sounds pretty boring, again, but that, and again, the diversity of the universe, but somebody in this universe, because we're all different aspects of source, a certain aspect of source love that part of its existence, as far as just being one consciousness by itself without, expanding itself to, in essence, deal with itself in a reflection, in a reflective type of manner, because that's, again, we all reflections of each other, you know, we reflections of the of source, you know, and vice versa, you know. But you know, it's some parts of source that just like, hey, I just want to be, you know, just a ball of consciousness about myself, you know, living in my, you know, my little dream world of my mind, you know, but which you wouldn't have nothing to dream of. In essence, you know, I don't like using the word at the beginning, but for lack of, let's just say in the earlier stages, you know, in essence, again, how could something eternal? That's another thing, and that. So let's get on that subject too. I'm talking about. That's another reason why, you know, trying to fucking put God in this box, like, you know, like, so say for instance, energy cannot be destroyed nor created, and there is no creation, there is no end, you know, but because as humans, we be trying to use our left brain logic to grasp something that is eternal, you know what I'm saying? It becomes like, say for with me trying to fumbling over words, trying to find a way to make something that is eternal and infinite, you know, and trying to box it in, you know what I'm saying? It's, you know, like, cause I'm trying to talk about the experience of, you know, like, well, at the beginning, it wasn't no fucking beginning and shit. Everything is eternal. Ain't no early stages in essence, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's all one state. Like, yesterday is tomorrow, and tomorrow and yesterday is now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I know that sounds confusing, but that's what it is, you know, like right now is gonna be yesterday. You know what I'm saying? It's also right now is also the future to yesterday. And right now is my now, you know what I'm saying? All in one. You know, so there's no beginning and end, it's just experience, you know. Never had no beginning, never, you know, never gonna have an end. You know, and so and keep that in mind too, like when you dealing with source, you know, source for lack of a better word. When you dealing with, you know, the energy of our higher self in essence, you know, realize that everything is not about trying to intellectually explain and conceptualize every aspect of something that, you know, is you know, eternal and so infinite. You know, that's why DMT trips, you know, people have trouble trying to explain to people what they, you know, what they experience, because they experience what we experienced before words existed. You know, when colors and, you know, matter of fact, shit, you go through that stage of when colors and sounds was, you know, more close to words, and then there's just a point of just, well, we so in our being, it ain't even no, like, we won, so it's like messages, the message is relayed through, can't even explain, there's no word to explain it, you know what I'm saying? Again, because words boxes in, you know, think about the Saturnian energy, you know, and speaking words is a lower vibrational form of expressing ourselves, you know. It's basically boxing in our God self, like putting spells on ourselves or cursing ourselves with word magic, you know what I'm saying? As a matter of fact, and that's where you gotta learn how to flip the script and, you know, use word magic to benefit your soul, you know, in the essence of, if you're gonna be talking and using this lower vibe of expressing ourselves, at least use it in a manner that's gonna elevate your soul, you know. Matter of fact, and as you help yourself, you know, indirectly you'll help others. But this is, you know, nothing but a game. You know, in order to take a game serious, you know, you can't go into the game knowing, like, so say for instance, like, if I went to play San Andreas and I knew all the missions and how to pass them, I knew the whole map of the whole game, like I just knew everything about it before I got it, then it will feel like a waste of energy, you know, sitting in front of that game and still playing it, you know. Same analogies, like reason why certain, like our spirit guides, higher self, don't tell us too much of the future. You know, it's like how we always move is, most of us, you know, and again, to each his own, but for the most part, you know, in which I think those people just being in their lower self of just like, oh yeah, I don't mind knowing the end of the movie, I'm still interested, you know, which that may be true. I fall back on that. Maybe there are some people who, could know everything and all things of our existence and still, live this life as just something new, you know. But that's the whole aspect. That's why we kind of gave ourselves amnesia, because again, if you knew everything, you know, from our higher self and our source self, we wouldn't even be experiencing, we would be like, oh, well, fuck this shit. Like, I'm, like trying to go back, quote unquote, to connect with source in the non-physical realm, or just like sitting around like, what the fuck, But you wouldn't have that same zeal or that same, fire and will to, to deal with this experience, if it was, again, if you knew everything about your life before you got here, if you, again, if everything was easy and you knew everything, and also just like with the analogy of like, again, like a game, once you choose the game or you're reincarnate, so choosing the game is like choosing your reincarnation in the game you playing in a certain lifetime, and once you put that game in, that's what it is. Like, that's the game you playing, until you pass it, or until, you transition, because, you didn't, in essence, didn't finish your mission, but to a certain extent, on a life aspect, what is what is, So if you don't, whatever your existence is, how can I say, it's not for everybody. Like how a game is like everybody gotta get 500 points to play this game, or you ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, nah, like the game is there for you to play. You play it how you want to. You could make CJ drown in the water every time. You know what I'm saying? Or you could make him, again, you could drive around the city. Be in the chaotic mode and the female vibe of like, just no boundaries, just going with the flow of it. Or you could be in more of a logical format of playing the game, as going on the little missions they got set up for you. Or you could balance both and have a little fun, in the feminine vibe of playing the game, and have a little fun in the masculine vibe of playing the game, and make the experience really fun. But, just trying to open people up to these analogies of our existence, because as much as our existence is complex, is a lot of it is very simple, and it's about like, again, that's why I trust in the universe, and going with the flow is like that trust of like, well, I don't have to read 1,000 books to trust the flow of God. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta trust that the game is gonna play out, accordingly. And another thing too, again, no matter what your experience is, your experience is no good or bad, it's just a part of your experience, like it's a balance of a paradox of free will and, to a certain extent, a destiny, or a quote unquote destination, because that's what the word destiny breaks down into, like having a destination. Manifest destiny, manifest destination. But again, it's this whole experience, why we got all this contrast, again, like, man, why they got this person on a part of the game, man? They be cheating on this part of the game, man. That dude always pop up and shoot me right at this point, man. Like, but don't that make the game fun though? You know what I'm saying? When you beat that motherfucker, you're like, yeah, motherfucker, you run around the house like, man, I fucking shot that motherfucker. That game be cheating, you know what I'm saying? But you wouldn't experience that much excitement. The excitement wouldn't be so high if you didn't experience such a low of like getting tired of like, man, get shot by the same person on the game. Like, bro, why, man, he keep popping up all this, this little monster on the game keep, bro, like, I can't pass this board, bro. you know, in how life, like, you know, bro, I keep getting into it with such and such, this keep happening, I keep losing a job, this and that. But then when you get over that hump in the game, it's like, some of y'all going, you know what I'm saying? But you don't get that level of excitement without going through that low level of non-excitement, you know what I'm saying? Again, the experience, you know. Because if everything was monotone, that's another thing. I wouldn't even know what excitement is. Everybody walking around like, so, nobody even know that this exists because, everybody flat, and another thing, as I, just caught the download of it, like, because some people may think that when we talk about balancing things out right now, that this is not balancing things out to make us all the same. We're just balancing out the masculine and feminine energies, and to an extent, like, to our unique, soul signature in essence, So like, cause some of us may be, say for instance, a little more right brain and left brain, but still, balance in the essence of it, but a little more on the right than the left. Some of us a little more on the left than the right, Some of us still, we still gonna have our uniqueness, but it's just a balance of the masculine and feminine aspect, on the energetic level, and just raising our conscious intelligence, for lack of a better word, like how I talk about soul maturity, like we just maturing as souls, There's no, again, because we come from the ideas of religion from, the Western ways, where you think like to be spiritual and to, be on the spiritual growth, you got to be holier than thou. So that means, you got to, meditate every single day, do mantras all day, never say anything negative, hide from negative people, always be pot. And it's like, that's not, again, we look at it from a dogmatic approach, and that's, it's not it. It's just, for the most part, just, being one with that God within ourselves, just getting closer to our higher self. We, through, this lifetime and the past years, we've been being not only over masculine, or over left brain in the aspect of doing things, but we also been being run by our egoic mind. We've been letting our mind run our heart. An example of, like, somebody getting bullied, quote unquote, our egoic mind, like, oh, fuck, to hell, and which is not your job to butt in, but I'm saying, like, as far as like your egoic mind gonna be like, fuck it, oh, that's just somebody, this and that, and your source, is gonna feel like a little compassion, for that person, or a little, empathy for that position in essence. But our egoic mind, in essence, is that, again, that part of our mind that's like, me, I'm Carl Ray, I'm gonna have my kids, this is my wife, this is my occupation, I'm not source on the human experience, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, what I'm saying? Like, that's our identities. And nothing wrong with being, say, for all these things I name, what I'm saying, having an occupation or whatever, but again, not getting lost, like, not letting it, the egoic mind, run with that position. You got to get in tune with that, with the inner source, matter of fact, through meditating, quieting the mind. And some people who asked recently, again, just watch some of my meditation videos, but you're not going to necessarily quiet your mind completely. You're just looking to stop playing with your thoughts, what I'm saying? Like, just let them pop up and don't play with them, because a thought could pop up like, oh, look, South Street, my old school. And I just keep my mind quiet. Oh, you remember that fight when you was in second grade? And I just keep my mind. Now, as those thoughts, now on the flip side, like if I was to give into my mind when the thought of, say for instance, you remember South Street? Oh yeah, man, I remember that. Like, and I would have went to this whole dialogue in my mind of like, oh yeah, I remember first grade, this happened. Like it would be just a non-stop. And we are creatures of habit, you know what I'm saying? So if that's your habit, if you're in the habit of like just a thought pop up and you just going with it, you know, you gotta start establishing a habit of getting out of that, you know what I'm saying? And that's where the meditation, you know, it takes time, you know, and a little a little willpower, you know, you gotta really want to do it to really deal with it, you know what I'm saying? But you know, again, just back to the fullness of our experience, you know, it's, you know, a game to be played, you know, like you know, if it's a game, then why such and such, you know, got hurt? They really didn't get hurt. They soul, you know, they love bodysuit, you know, gotta stay here on earth, but the soul is the energy of the soul and consciousness is continuously moving, you know. It's no longer in that body, you know. Again, you know, why would we, you know, do this to ourselves and this and that? Again, the contrast, and to a certain extent, I don't want to use that terminology just straight up. Of course, I got to attach these words to it because, you know, a lot of that, I don't know if that was a like Freud, Sigmund and Freud, whatever Sigmund Freud, like, but the oh, what's his name? The other guy, shit, I forgot his name. But like, you know, survival of the fittest, in the essence of, you know, those in this lifetime who get it, gonna be the ones who get it, and be, you know, that pole, you know, like the two sides of the one coin, you know, they're gonna be on that side of the situation, you know, and the people who don't get it, you know what I'm saying? Because again, why everybody can't, you know, if everybody had the same experience, you know, this would be done. This is where your human moralistic mind won't be able to deal with that. Like, and you thinking that's your God self, that's your human moralistic mind of like, well, why everybody can't, you know what I'm saying? Well, for one, the people who are experiencing something unpleasant right now is because they, you know, went through something, you know, or did something in the past, you know, that warrants that unpleasantness right now, you know what I'm saying? So it is what it is for them, you know what I'm saying, until they could do otherwise to, you know, get themselves out. Because just to show you how it's not your job to get them out, somebody going through shit, you could feed them, do all this shit, but you just basically taking care of somebody, you know, and not teaching them how to take care of self, but more so showing you, though, that maybe you're dealing with somebody that wasn't meant, you know, because if it was meant for them to step up, then, you know, they would be able to learn what you're doing, or, you know, or they would ask to be in the place, you know, instead of just like, you know, where you just feeding them or, you know, giving them stuff. But matter of fact, I digress. I don't know what I don't remember where I was with that analogy, but yeah, it's just, you know, it's all about the experience, you know, it's just experience, no good, no bad. No, my mom, I always use this analogy. My mom, her little, that bed, they got my mom in that little machine at the hospital, which you don't need to be at the hospital, but anyway, as a matter of fact, that's where you end up, you know. Anyway, they got my mom in a little machine that, you know, that little machine that basically keep people alive, like they dead, in essence, like they suspended in space, that's, you know, for lack of a better word, but like, well, like they keeping them on a little machine that keeping their heart pumping, but they basically dead in essence. Now, some part of the family, you know, gonna feel like, oh man, we gotta take my mom for that machine, man. You know, she just sitting there suffering, man. Let her transition. You know, while the other part of the family, like, oh no, man, we gotta keep on the machine long, or you never know what might happen, or this, you know what I'm saying? It's like, and neither one of them are right or wrong. You know, they're both are speaking from their perception, you know, from what they feel would be the right thing, you know what I'm saying? And in most cases, what they will feel is right for them. So that's why they looking at it like that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is what I would do, or this is what I would want somebody to do for me. So this is what we should do for Graham. Like people keep forgetting that they push their own mind frame onto people. It's like it's all our perceptions. Weed bad, speak for yourself. Weed good, still speak for yourself. That experience ain't the same for all people. You know what I'm saying? That's what creates this fun world we live in. You know what I'm saying? The uniqueness and everything not being the same all the time. And like in order for a person to know how good it feels to have abundance and and deal with money, they go through them stages of being without. You know what I'm saying? Again, you can't get that excited for beating a certain part of the game if you haven't been that low in a certain part of the game. You know what I'm saying? Like the analogy I used was a certain person on the game that keep giving you trouble, and you finally got past that part. Like, yeah, you run around the house, throw the controller in the air, whoa, chilling. But that's the whole vibe. In fact, that's a sign for me. Peace, happy now. Now the vibrator course. Not going too far in the future. Not going too far in the past. Right now. Peace.